Hello there, and glad to have you join us on the program Political Update. This week we have Nasarawa State APC governorship candidate, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, as guest on the program. You are welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin by you telling us what actually prompted you to participate in politics as well as aspire to be the next governor of Nasarawa State.
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, looking at our state, Nasarawa State, which has proximity to the federal capital, which is a state called the State of Solid Minerals, which is a state with a lot of potentials, yet one of the least developed states in the country. God has not blessed us with so many wealthy people in Nasarawa State. God has not blessed us with so many so-called big people in Nasarawa State, but God has blessed us with so many resources, potentials, land, and very good people to come in. So the performance of our current governor, Umaru Tanko Almakura in Nasarawa State, to be able to change the landscape of the state, to be able to develop the state and start to give our state a new architecture, was one of the motivating factors to try and see how someone will come in to consolidate and be able to build on what our governor has done. That is one of the motivating factors for me.
How do you intend to harness these potentials you've just mentioned to propel Nasarawa State to greater heights?
Yeah. First and foremost, we have to look at it is an agrarian state. Nasarawa State is a state where agriculture should be the base of it all. So we have a lot of land, we have a lot of water. River Benue has been very kind to Nasarawa State. It is actually going around almost 2 or 3 local government areas. With the land and the type of soil that we have available there, and we also have a dam in Nasarawa State that is also another source of irrigation, for that. And we have the people to be able to be provided, to provide all the manpower that is required in the areas of agriculture. So number one is to look at these areas which we have started. While working for my last employer, Dangote Group, we have been able to work towards bringing the largest sugar factory that we are going to have in the state. We have also looked at the areas that one of the foremost companies in rice has come to Nasarawa State at the moment, called Olam. We are trying to see how can we build in the areas of Doma, for instance. We are trying to look at some of the lapses and the challenges of the areas that we have in the state. It is a state that has proximity to the federal capital, as I mentioned earlier on, but there is it has become almost like a box canyon. One way in, somewhere out. You have to go. That's why every time it's evening time, if it is a work day, you see a lot of challenges of people going into Nasarawa State and coming out, when actually maybe about 30 to 40% of those who work in Abuja actually live in Nasarawa State. But because of the proximity that we don't have, so we have to look at the areas, of potentials to open that state, for the federal capital, to open the state for industrialization, because the state is one of the states also that is getting the least federation account allocation because of all the various challenges that the state has. One is called the population. The second one is the fact that the state doesn't have so many factories and manufacturing institutions that can generate revenue and VAT. So we have to open the state in those areas. There are not so many roads going to even linking the federal capital in the state. So it's actually a gateway state. So the first thing is to carry out a thorough study of all these things that we are mentioning. How many kind of people you have, you're not going to have exact number, but you should be able to come up with an approximate percentage of how many people are actually living there. Then to look at, you can sit down really one day and count the number of vehicles that move in and move out, especially during the working hours. So we can carry out a study to come up with the real data that is there. Once we are familiar with the data, then we will be able to plan. Without proper data, you can't plan. So then the next thing is to come out, if we are planning, which areas are we planning from? From Karu, or maybe actually from Apo village, you can go into Nasarawa State all the way down to other states, Benue and Plateau states, and the rest of these other states in the northeast. So you can actually build a link road there, a gateway from that direction. Now from the other side here, that we are saying from Nyanya area all the way to Panda location through Mararaba, that is another location that you can also open up. So all these areas are not open right now. So that's why I say earlier on that it's like a box canyon. So it's just the same one way in, from Abacha barracks all the way to Nyanya. And that's why people continue to have all kinds of problems in that area. So once you acquire the data, then the next thing is to look at the various means of funding these operations. There are so many intervention funds that you have. World Bank looks at these kind of things to support. So you have to be able to assess that. Central Bank of Nigeria does have these kind of funds to assess. You must be able to support that. Then we must bring people, who are also interested in making this a business. Sometimes challenges create opportunities for business. So there are people who are willing to do that.
When we talk of infrastructure, not only these communities that are in the neighborhood of FCT need this infrastructure. If you look at the state, so many areas are in need of basic infrastructure,
correct,
which will help them in at least contributing their quota to development of that young state. So how do you think this can be done?
Even before I thought of politics, even before I thought of coming to Nasarawa State to contest, one of the things that I have mentioned clearly that we require is power in Nasarawa State. So I say, how can we address that? So look at the project that I say we are bringing into Tunga in our local government area. The project is actually Sugar Project by name, but it's a power generation project also, because you take the cane and then you extract the sucrose. Then the other solid part of it are actually the fuel that you use in generating power. So that project is going to generate about 93 megawatts of power. The project itself requires only about 46 megawatts. The balance is what you send to the national grid. That balance is enough to power the entire area of Awe, Obi, Bedbere, all the way to Lafia. They are not going to require that amount of power. So once that project is completed, you can say the power problems in that area has been resolved. We thank God the federal government constructed a road. Actually, it's an excellent road right now from Lafia all the way to Awe. So their second problem has been resolved, okay, about road construction. So the next issue is really, once you generate the power, is the power lines. In Nigeria, the transmission lines are weak. So we have been talking to the federal government, the Federal Ministry of Power, to make sure that once the power is generated, there is capacity in the transmission to be able to transmit that power to the distribution network. So that is the next area that we look at and we are talking about in that area. So the next is really empowerment. The roads are what the government has already started. The current government of Umar Tanko Al-Makura has done a wonderful job when it comes to road construction, but mainly in the urban areas. In the rural areas, we still require a lot of roads. During this campaign that I had opportunity to go to so many places. I go to Agbashim, in Doma local government, they have no roads there. All the way to, if you follow to come through Makodi, they have no roads. I have gone inside my own local government, going to Ajaga, I'm going to all these places, there are no roads there. So these kind of roads are required. Once you are able to construct, in fact, in Nasarawa local government, from Nasarawa Town to Ara, the road is bad. From Nasarawa Town going all the way to Udage and Loko, the roads are still challenging. So yet you have a lot of agricultural activities going on in those areas. Once the people farm, they need to bring out those foods. So those are the areas that I'm talking of the federal government coming in. So you have to go into some kind of partnership with the government and other investors and the intervention funds to be able to support this.
Nasarawa is one young state endowed with numerous resources, but the state is having a serious challenge when it comes to security matters. What is really the problem and how can this be tackled?
Okay, I beg to disagree with you when it comes to the issue of security, because I think if you look at Nasarawa, Nasarawa is the state with the least security challenges than the other states around it. Most of the challenges that they have in Plateau, You know, we have people who are actually running away, IDPs coming into Nasarawa from Plateau. The same thing with Taraba, because we have border with Taraba. A lot of the problems are more in Taraba, but we have people running into Nasarawa. The next problem that we have is actually now with Benue. You know, because of all these grazing laws and the rest of that, you also have lots of problems and challenges there, and then you have people running into Nasarawa. So from what we have had, the herdsmen and thief people fighting is what created some of the problems that we had, and we ended up with a lot of IDPs in Nasarawa state. So the government of Nasarawa state and with the federal government support has been able to a certain level maintain some level of peace than maybe our own neighboring states that I have mentioned earlier on. However, peace and security are number one agenda that every government should have. People have their own farms, they have to protect that, and the government must support people to be able to do that so that they can produce to feed not only Nasarawa but the nation at large.
You have outlined so many things that can turn Nasarawa around if actually you translate all these things into action. But there is one serious problem that is bedeviling almost majority of the states, that is internally generated revenue, without which no state can function effectively. How do you think Nasarawa, as a young state with agricultural, solid minerals and other potentials, can tap from these resources to enhance its internally generated revenue?
Okay. The bottom line is that many times we talk about these plans, we develop them, we put them in papers, but we don't implement them. And the reason is because we look at we build a very big pie that we are not able to completely build it. So my approach is one step at a time. If our coming into Nasarawa state is just to develop agriculture and develop and be able to generate revenue and employment from there, if that's all I can achieve in Nasarawa, so be it. If what I can achieve only in Nasarawa is today, we are looking at the oil and gas. We say there is discovery of hydrocarbons. You know, they say discovery of oil. Actually, I would say more technical, discovery of hydrocarbons somewhere around Kiana. There is a lot of excitement there. From my own background of oil and gas person, I know that it's not going to be easy for any of the big multinationals to leave the entire Niger Delta and come into Nasarawa state, which is a completely onshore field, to produce oil there. And do what with the oil? You don't have pipelines connecting Nasarawa and the rest of the Niger Delta all the way to the sea. So how are you going to get the oil? So the idea is take a step at a time. We carry out the exploration and the exploitation of the oil. We discover the size of the reserve. We don't look at the big players, the big boys, the Shell, the Mobil, the Chevron, and the rest. We are not even going to go close to them. We go and look for small companies, the Osaikas of the world, the Anacondas of the world, not even Total. You know, we look at this small company. Hey, we have oil here. The size of the reserve is 500 million barrels. We want a company that will come in, drill the oil, produce it, and mount a skid-mounted refinery there. Produce the oil there, so that from production to refining is done in one location, and then we sell the oil from there. We are not interested in making billions of dollars out of that. No, we want to create opportunities for our own people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir,
for coming on to Political. The Buhari Osinbajo Mandate Group says the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has from takeoff been piloting the economy of the nation with a focus towards development. The result, which is glaring for everyone to see, especially in its inclusive nature, affecting all fabrics of the society in this direction, the political group therefore says it is incumbent on it to champion the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari, not only for his qualification to come back for second term, but also to ensure that Nigeria attains functional development with sustainability towards a greater future. Political correspondent Salihu Abdullahi has details.
Buhari Osinbajo Mandate Group is a movement that is in the forefront of the vanguard for the actualization and revalidation of the mandate of the people for President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The group believed that the administration's scorecard in all-round development and its plan to restore the nation's greatness informed people's support and trust to the present administration for better days ahead.
He has paid salaries He has put Mambila Power Project on track. All our roads that have been barred from time immemorial, the president have started putting them together. Some of them are okay now, as we all can see. So this is why we have come together to tell the world that there is a need for us to support the president.
We cried for a long time for a second Niger bridge that never came. It is only President Muhammad Buhari that has come to actualize it. So any wise person, any reasonable person from the southeast must support President Muhammad Buhari to complete the good work he has started for this country.
In demonstration of its commitment, the Buhari-Osinbajo Mandate Group had championed a course of robust relationship with the electorate across the country and to make them abreast of the government's veritable development stride as imperative for them to ensure re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari towards ensuring the future of the country and the succeeding generation.
G19, an umbrella campaign organization for Professor Jerry Gana's presidential bid, has rejected the outcome of the Social Democratic Party's presidential primary election won by former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke. This was at a media briefing in Abuja.
The G19 is reminding the Social Democratic Party SDP of the zoning formula of the party, which stipulates that the presidential candidate should come from the north and national chairman of the party from the south on rotational basis. Director General of the group, Ikeneliaku, explains that the party was reminded about the agreement before the presidential primary election, but was wished away.
Our position is in line with the provisions of the SDP Constitution on the principle of rotation and zoning of offices contained in section 15.3, 1 and 2, SDP Amended Constitution 2018.
In a swift reaction to the briefing, the National Publicity Secretary of the SDP, Alpha Mohammed, says it is an intra-party affair that will soon be resolved. Meanwhile, at the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party, members of Cross River State PDP Support Coalition were at the Wadata House to protest against what they described as wrongful exclusion of the party's pioneer National Publicity Secretary, Emmanuel Ibeshi, from participating in the state's governorship primary election, even after being cleared by the screening committee.
We need justice! We need justice!
Any political party or candidate that engages in campaign ahead of the 2019 general elections for now will face the wrath of the law. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu gave the indication during a workshop for election professionals from the Commonwealth African region in Abuja.
The conclusion of party primaries no doubt has further heightened the political climate, and ordinarily one may think campaigns will follow suit. That might be the view of the ordinary man and not that of the law.
Campaign for presidential and National Assembly elections will commence on the 18th of November 2018, while governorship and state assembly elections will begin on the 1st of December 2018.
And for those who think INEC may postpone the date for the submission of candidates,
let me reiterate that there will be no extension of time. The date is firm and fixed.
It was agreed by all here that ensuring a free and fair election is a shared responsibility, as no vote will be bought without a seller, and no violence if orderliness is maintained by the electorate.
As Nigeria inches towards the 2019 general elections, speakers at an interfaith conference in Abuja were unanimous in their submission that support by religious leaders, the media, traditional institutions and security agencies is key in ensuring a hitch-free exercise.
With Nigeria facing another general elections, which will perhaps be the most intensely contested in the country Some groups have already started beating the drums of ethnicity and religious differences. This informed a two-day conference by Interfaith Initiative for Peace (IIP) on religious harmony in Nigeria towards peaceful elections convened by the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, and the Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, John Cardinal Onaikan, taking into consideration the need for religious leaders to sensitize their followers on the necessity of living in harmony.
Leaders is to continue to educate followers either at churches or mosques or preaching grounds or whatever it is, with the fear of God, like so many of you said, without really coming to say, I am for candidate A, I am for party B. No, because your role is overall reaching out to everybody. You are the father of all.
The issue of religion being a positive element in ensuring peaceful election is still a burning issue. You can hear all that they have said now. We do our best in a forum like this, but we hope the story can go back to the grassroots.
Any conference that has to do with elections is always very important, and we cherish it. It affords us the opportunity of telling people the level of preparedness for the 2019 elections, and it also enables us to hear from the people.
The conveners say Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, with an estimated population of over 200 billion people, made up of over 250 ethnic groups and tribes, must live in harmony, hence the need for the citizenry to see the strength in their diversity by ensuring peaceful elections.
Some executive members of the All Progressives Congress Northeast Zone have expressed dissatisfaction with the way and manner the zonal chairman, Mustafa Salihu, is running the affairs of the party in the zone. Garbana Ta'ala has details.
The Zonal Secretary Abubakar Sadiq Ajia at a press briefing in Abuja accused the zonal chairman of not holding meetings and causing disunity among members of the party in the Northeast.
It's up to the state to give a name for his replacement while he's under suspension. It's a suspension. So this committee will look into all the alleged offenses, and then they will report to us, and then we'll take it to the party headquarters, whether if those charges stand or if there's any ground to have him back.
Meanwhile, the National Secretariat of the party in a statement nullified the purported suspension of the zonal chairman Mustafa Salihu, saying such powers reside with the National Executive Committee. The statement said whatever issues there might be, the party structure and constitution provided ample avenues for redress and dispute resolution. It added that the National Working Committee can and will wade into the matter to achieve amicable settlement if the Northeast Zonal Office is unable to achieve a resolution.
That's it on the program this week. Thank you for watching.